In this video, I'm going to share with you the financial course I developed with Jack, a finance coach, who will introduce himself shortly. You'll get the introductory videos for the money mindset, personal finance, time value of money, personal saving, managing debt, investing, stock market investing with Gregg, creating your own financial plan, getting to know insurance, and finally, understanding taxes. For all of these sections, you can skip to any part you like by using the timestamps in the description box below. But first, why do you need a financial education? Well, for one, financial education is almost never taught in schools, and it's one of the reasons why millions of people struggle with money. You see, financial education is the set of skills and knowledge that allows an individual to make an informed and effective decisions with all of their financial resources. It is also called financial literacy, and it's extremely important for you to make progress and get ahead in life. If you are looking for improvement in your personal and financial life, you might be looking for financial freedom and financial independence. It means that you want to reach a point in your life where you no longer have to depend on family, a job, or a company that you don't like for money. The good news is that anybody can attain financial independence. With the right skills and tools, you can gain the skills you need to become financially free. Now, here's Jack with a small introduction of himself.
Hey everyone, my name's Jack Warner, and I'm a financial coach, also a financial education curriculum content developer or writer. Currently I live in Brevard, North Carolina, but I'm originally from Georgia, and I taught personal finance and economics in high school for 6 years. This is kind of where I've developed my love for personal finance, financial literacy, and consumer economics. Within about the last 2 years of my professional teaching, so year 5, year 6, it was during COVID, and I realized that more than just the teenagers I was teaching needed financial education. They needed to know financial literacy, basic concepts. I realized this because I was sitting there and teaching a class, several classes, and adults, their parents, these kids' parents were writing down notes, participating in activities, getting involved with the tasks and the projects that we were doing. And I had just asked two parents, like, hey, why are you so involved? And they're like, well, we were never taught this in school. And so my passion, my goal right now as a financial coach and a consultant with other coaches and advisors and other financial education organizations is to bring this curriculum to more and more people, is to help people realize that they can achieve financial freedom and teach that class that they wish they had in high school. So after my 6-year teaching, I traveled full time. My wife and we decided to travel, and our dog, and I started picking up some more jobs. Just kind of, I wanted to have fun, wanted to explore a little bit of the country, the U.S., but I also wanted to shift jobs. Teaching as much fun as I had teaching personal finance, it wore me out. So in the process of the traveling, I started picking up more curriculum content writing jobs for finance and economics, and for about a year. And then at the end of our travels, I really started focusing on how I can help others with financial literacy. So I joined in with some other coaches. I joined in with some education programs. I joined in with financial advising organizations, credit unions, all different types of clients from all different industries, and was really wanting to build content for them. So during that process of building my own writing portfolio and helping people build videos or articles or educational posts or quizzes or whatever lessons, I started my own financial coaching business. Now I'm in the process of launching it, but at the same time, I want to go ahead and get that started. So I'm hoping that will be launched in 2023. But in the meantime, I need to do something. So I help people build curriculum. I try to volunteer my time, and I love even just random people, just assisting people for free right now with their financial journey. So I'll talk about how they can save on taxes, different income streams they can probably create. I help friends and family pick investments, get out of debt, different types of things, common sense things, but they just need someone like me. There's thousands of other people like me to help them through the basic steps to achieve their financial success. So currently, I do build financial curriculum for people. I do videos, I teach lessons, I help build quizzes and assessments, and I help all types of financial professionals like financial coaches, advisors. I'll consult on education for high school, different types of financial organizations. But I say all this, one of my biggest passions, whatever position or whatever title I have, one of my biggest passions in life is to help others achieve financial freedom and know that they can do it. Know that they're not going to be in the debt spiral forever, or that they're going to be stuck at this income forever, or should give them the tools, give them the knowledge necessary that they need, that person needs, or that family needs to invest in their future and secure their future. So I hope throughout this course we can accomplish this together. I'm teaching all types of topics, very, very broad videos covering several different topics. We'll go through money mindset, how you can change your behavioral economics, and different psychology of money topics so you can approach money in a healthy way and handle money in a healthy way. We'll talk about income, we'll talk about investing, we'll talk about debt management, credit scores, taxes, everything. Creating a budget will be a big point. In fact, I think that's like a theme of my videos. I almost always mention budgeting, I think, in every video. So you'll hear me say it a lot, and it's important. It's why I say it a lot, because I can't remind myself enough to make sure I'm budgeting. But throughout this course, I want to help you or your family walk through the steps to achieve financial freedom. Very basic steps. There's no quick way to do this. Sometimes you just gotta put your foot down, put your head down, and start working. And these are the steps I teach, and I hope we can accomplish this together. And I hope you enjoy this as much as I do.
Now, I hope you are ready to learn, because these videos are packed with information. Get your pens and notebooks out and make sure to give this video a thumbs up for that YouTube algorithm. And remember, if you want to get the whole course, it costs only $39, which you can get by clicking the join button and becoming a member of the channel. With that said, here's the first module, Intro to Money Mindset.
Hey, my name's Jack. In this video, we're going to be discussing the power of having a positive mindset. We're going to compare it to how it can impact us with a negative mindset and where this can affect us in life as well. So the first thing I want to talk about is what exactly is a money mindset. So we might not know what exactly a money mindset is. So a money mindset describes our attitudes and behaviors when it comes to dealing with money. That can either be two different schools of thought here. You can either be a positive attitude person, where your change of behavior and activity creates opportunities, it creates financial situations, and it also bleeds into other areas of your life where you start creating more confidence and more positive decisions in other areas and choices and decisions in your life. Whereas a negative attitude, equally as powerful, because it can impact our financial future and it'll harm our financial life. And once it harms our financial life, usually this bleeds into other areas of our life as well. So what affects our money mindset? So a lot of you might be thinking, what will impact my money mindset and how can I change this for the future? Well, the first thing, and probably the most influential, is our history and experiences with dealing with money. So if we had a bad experience with money, maybe we lost a lot of money gambling, or maybe we made a poor investment choice, or maybe we just don't know how to make money, and that can affect, our experiences dealing with money. That history can really impact us and our money decisions and our attitude towards money. Also, our history. History plays a big role. Maybe you grew up in a family or an environment somewhere where money was just always, it was never discussed, but it was always an issue for whatever reason. This leads me to my next point, discussion surrounding money. You might be in a friend group that always is negatively talking about money, how they don't have enough, how they don't know how to make any more, how money is evil, whatever that might be. Your family can also talk about this. And some families, for whatever reason, in Western cultures, well, I can't speak for all cultures, but I know for sure in the United States, discussion surrounding money in our families is very taboo. It's very unheard of. You're not supposed to talk about it. You're not supposed to ask your mom and dad how much money they make or how much money we have or whatever it might have been. So discussion surrounding that can really impact us as a child, and it can lead into our our adult life. And then finally, how we're educated about money. And again, I can't speak for all Western cultures, but I know for sure in the United States, it's not how we were educated about money. We were not educated about money. We're not educated enough about our personal finances. It's just only been the last maybe 5 years where financial education has taken kind of a rise in an emphasis in high schools and middle schools around our country. But we've gone decades, centuries without talking about personal finance, middle school, high school, college, and beyond. So, how can we characterize and identify negative versus a positive mindset? So, where can we see this? I'm going to go through the negatives first. So, a negative money mindset, and when I go through this list, think about these characteristics of a negative money mindset and see if they play into your life any. So a negative money mindset, you have constant anxiety around money. Or maybe we're very unorganized. We procrastinate a lot. We have a negative outlook on life. So not just on money, but just on everything else. We have a fear of money. We're always negative about money topics. Like, oh, well, the economy is always going to be bad, or I'm always going to be poor, or I'll never make enough money. Intimidated of taking on some difficult tasks. So pause the video if you have to. See if any of these kind of plays into your life any. Where on the other side, we have a positive money mindset. A positive money mindset is we're building confidence now. We're confident when it comes to making decisions, and not just money decisions either, other decisions in our life too. Difficult tasks are handled confidently. We're okay with taking on difficult tasks now. We're usually optimistic, or at least overly, I wouldn't say overly optimistic, but realistic optimistic as well. We show self control over many areas of our life. We know we're not overly spending. We're investing a healthy amount of money. We're self control in our diets, in our nutrition, in our other habits in life. When a problem arises, we're always looking for a solution. We're not just blaming people when we develop a positive money mindset. When a problem is going to come up, whether you're negative or positive money mindset in life, and how we approach that problem really determines our mindset. So if a problem does come up, we're not blaming somebody else or just constantly talking about the problem. We're looking for a solution and how we can overcome that obstacle. And of course, I'm going to talk about this more later on in this video. We thirst for knowledge. We want to learn new things. So compare the two. Which one do you line up more? And sometimes it's a little bit of both. Sometimes some days you have positive, some days you have negative, and that's okay. That's going to happen. So negative mindset leads to spiraling. We start spiraling out of control. When this occurs, we feel bad about everything and that we will never be good at money. It's kind of a defeatism attitude. Whereas a positive mindset leads to more momentum. You start creating healthy habits. You continue to build strong confidence towards life and money. So here are some common negative money beliefs, and you've probably seen these before, and I'm just going to post them on here so you can look over them, but you definitely have seen at least a couple of these. Or heard a couple of these. Money is evil. It's the root of all evil. It makes people selfish and evil. Money leads to greed. Money can't buy happiness. Rich people are lucky. I'll always be poor. You got you gotta have or spend money to make money. So all these negative money beliefs are stemmed from a poor or negative money mindset. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not totally wrong. We have to acknowledge that there are some people who are rich, that maybe they were born rich, or there are some people that have a lot of money that use money to be evil. But that doesn't generalize. You should never generalize the entire concept of money and how we deal with money as, because a margin of people do that thing, a small margin of people do that thing, doesn't mean it's necessarily true for the majority of people. More importantly, money can be used as a tool for positive change. So we need to understand that it's not just because, we hear some negative things about money, it makes it true for for the rest of our lives. Money can be used as a tool for positive change. It helps us build wealth. We are able to build wealth, and then we can spread that wealth out to bless others or to encourage others or whatever it might be. And it helps secure our financial future, and not just for yourself. This is where a lot of people get mixed up with wealth and greed. Building wealth, you're not just building wealth for yourself. Usually you're building it for a business, or you're securing the financial future of your children and of their children's children. You're helping other people out. Of course, it leads to my next point, helping others. So once you build wealth, you can start creating opportunities for others. You can start donating money. You can start funding charities, philanthropy ideas, all that stuff. Starting businesses, investing in businesses, which is huge. It helps our economy. If there are more wealthy people and people are taking charge of their personal finances, they would help out the economy more than a poor person with a bad money mindset just constantly complaining. And of course, you can create opportunities, job opportunities, more business ideas, helping people go to college, whatever it might be, protecting the environment. So many different opportunities once you build wealth, and you're buying yourself time too. You now have secured your financial future and you're free. You don't have to worry about paying debt. So, how do we change this mindset? Y'all are probably thinking, well, Jack, this is good and all, but how exactly do we change this mindset? Well, there's several habits that I want you to start trying today, or as soon as you can, and write these down too, so it helps you focus on what you need to do. First of all, know that you are in control of your life and your money choices. Just because you grew up in a poor family or a family that didn't talk about money or whatever, that doesn't matter. That no longer matters to you because now you are in control of your money and you need to know that your money choices are your decisions alone. Understand that taking control of your habits takes work and effort. I can't stress this enough. It's not just going to happen. I can't remember who quoted this, but taking control of your personal finance life, 80% of it is your behavior and attitude. 20% of it's just the knowledge of knowing, investments and budgeting and all that. So 80% of it, if you can do that, that's the work and effort. That's the positive attitude. So it's going to take work and effort. It's not going to just appear. You have to spend time actually trying to do this and changing your life. Make sure you give yourself praise for the small wins. This is huge. Recognize the incremental changes. You wrote down a budget. Awesome. Give yourself a win. Go out to eat a little bit. Splurge just a little bit here. Don't blow all your money on something crazy, but enjoy it. Have a little party. Set goals. And I'm going to talk about this more too in the next couple slides. Set goals that you want to achieve and commit to them. Give yourself some grace during the good times or the bad times. So if something happens, if you slip up, you accidentally impulse buy something or you make a poor investment, don't just spiral out. Give yourself some grace. Say, okay, I messed up. This is how I'm going to fix it. Eliminate distractions and negativity in your life. This is huge. If you're on social media, I've eliminated all my social media, but if you're on social media, it can be used for good, so I won't get into that debate. It can be used for a positive, but if you're following somebody or something's popping up in your feed that's distracting you, that's bringing negativity in your life and hurting your money mindset, eliminate it. Don't follow that person. Ignore them. Even cut that person out in your real life too. If you have somebody that's negative in your life, it's saying, "Oh, well, you always will be in debt. You will never make enough money." Then cut that person out. They're not your friend. You need to get people in your corner that will support you. And stay on your path to success. So it kind of goes with that one. Stay on your path. And do not compare. I just mentioned social media. Do not compare. Don't compare yourself to others. Know that you are enough, and everyone's life and situation is different. So just because you see something on Instagram and someone's spending a lot of money or traveling a ton or whatever, you don't really know what's going on behind the screen and behind their keyboard or whatever. So understand that's their life and that's okay. You just got to do what you got to do. Stay on your path towards success. So creating goals. And creating goals is important. I like going over this because a lot of people get confused with how exactly do I create a goal? You need to make sure you have short-term goals like a month, less than a year, midterm, year to 3 years, and long-term goals, 3, 5, 10 years plus. What are your financial goals? What do you want to achieve? Write these down. They need to be quantifiable and specific goals too. You need to be able to define these goals, write them down. They need to be quantified. What I mean by quantifiable is they need to count towards something. So don't just say, I want to be wealthy or I want to be debt free or whatever it might be, or I want to create a budget. When do you want to create that budget? How much money do you think is enough to be wealthy or whatever it is? When do you want to start that business? How much money do you want to invest? Be specific with your goals. Write them down and define them. And create reminders everywhere. Put post-it notes. Tell somebody. Set reminders on your phone, whatever it is. Build accountability. So get a support group. If you're married, tell your spouse. If you have a family, to get the whole family involved. That's awesome for accountability. Get a mentor, whatever it might need, and that kind of helps gather support too. And then lastly, we want to study, learn, and talk about money. So make sure with those goals, this will help achieve those goals. Study, learning, and talking about money. And then I didn't put these in any particular order. You can do this however you want, but plug into a money mindset support group. Listen to podcasts, watch videos, take a course on money and or a positive mindset. Read books about money, self-help, psychology. There's so much great material out there about reading books. I'm sorry, there is good information about reading books, but about money, there's so much good information about and so many books, thousands of books about money and self-help and positive mindsets. Or five, and it doesn't have to be in any order here, but hire a financial coach or hire a planner or a mentor or talk to your psychologist or whoever, a mentor, somebody that you admire. Grab a cup of coffee with somebody who has seen like they've been a positive mindset for a very long time and discuss that with them. And all of this, I promise you, if you start doing these habits, you will see it won't be a quick overnight change. Well, hopefully it is, that'll be awesome, but you will definitely see a slow positive mindset change in your life, and you'll see that happen and change in other areas of your life as well. Everybody wants to get rich quick and get to that retirement picture that they always had in their head and get to that wealthy point in their life. But hardly anybody wants to do the work unless you are born into that lifestyle or you inherit a bunch of money. You have to work hard to build that wealth. You're going to have to work hard and get on a plan to get you to that wealthy point. My name's Jack, and in this video, I'm going to be covering the very first step, big step to help you get on that wealth journey. So there's a lot of confusion and a debate really about being rich versus being wealthy. A lot of people, they want to get rich, but understanding just being rich isn't enough. Being rich can be the same as being poor, at least the mindset, maybe not financially in the outlook of life, but the mindset can still be the same. We want to approach money and achieve wealth. We want to be able to get to this point. So I want to show you the differences between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich, this is kind of the mainstream push of go out, work hard, work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, make a ton of money, spend a ton of money. This is kind of the mainstream approach to this. So you're going to have an extravagant lifestyle. You're usually very popular, or everybody knows you at least, or at least the spending style that you are in is well known. Usually spends money to impress, has more liabilities than assets. And I'll discuss more about that later and how that's important to your wealth. Can be living paycheck to paycheck. I've heard of people with incomes $250,000 plus still barely making it month out of month out of month because they have spent so much money and their liabilities heavily outweigh their assets. So all their paycheck is going to support basically this extravagant lifestyle. And they're not in control of their financial health. Versus building wealth and being wealthy, and this is not mainstream. There's a great book. There's so many great books on this too about building wealth versus being rich. Usually boring, not well known. Millionaire mindset is kind of if you Google that and start researching this, you'll find that a lot of millionaires, there's a big study of thousands and thousands of millionaires, they're not well known. They're just living their life, putting money in things that aren't as popular, not having these crazy parties or buying these fancy cars or living in these huge homes. They save and invest money. They have more assets than liabilities. They created multiple streams of income, so they're not totally reliant on their job, on their primary source of income, if that's the case for them. They have achieved financial freedom. So we are going to be focusing on this instead of this. So we don't want the mainstream get rich quick, Instagram lifestyle, because that's usually not how it really is portrayed. If you look at economics and you look at all the different financial studies that have been done, being rich and that spending all that money it's not going to bring happiness, whereas wealth and building wealth will. So the first thing we need to do to get on our wealth journey is we need to track our spending. And this is also, we'll talk about budgeting in a later video, but this is a very important step, not only to help you with your wealth journey, but also in budgeting and getting control of your finances, which all leads together. I mean, it's all ties in together. So when you're tracking your spending, the first thing you need to do, or the first thing you can do, doesn't necessarily need to be something you need to do, but keep a record and write down everything you spend money on for a whole month. So start doing it. If you don't do anything else and you don't know how to do anything else, you're not good with technology, and you've always been the person to write things down. Start writing things down. Keep the receipts. Start writing everything that you spend money on down. Download or print all the bank statements from last month. So if you don't want to do this, you're like, I can't keep track of all that, and you know you've used your debit or credit card. Download all your bank statements from last month. Everything, all the statements that you have money coming in or out of, but especially out of. Print all that off. Start looking it over. Track spending in a spreadsheet. Maybe you have a spreadsheet and you're a spreadsheet just geek nerd and you love it. I can say that because I am. And you can put all your money into different spreadsheets. Use the spending tracker app. This is also nice. There's many. I put a few examples here. It'll automatically do it for you. You just got to connect your bank account, but beware, some of these cost a fee, cost some money to use their business, and it'll automatically do it. And then once you do all this, whichever one you choose, or maybe do all of them, who knows? I've heard of people doing 2 or 3 of them. There's more methods out there to track your spending. I've even heard of the glass jar method, or the envelope method is what it's known as. You put money in the envelope or you put money in the jar, and that's your cash for your spending. Also a budgeting tip. But once you do all this, start categorizing all of your spending. Put things in utilities, essentials over here, entertainment, clothing, food, groceries, gas, et cetera, going on down the list there. You want to start categorizing that because you want to see where are you spending money. Because once you do that, once you start tracking your spending, you can start finding areas of spending that you can eliminate today. You'll be surprised. You'll be shocked. Like, oh my gosh, I spent $300 on gas, or I spent $200 on clothes last month, and I really didn't need any clothes. Or maybe we went out to eat too much. Or maybe I can really start cutting down my groceries. Or maybe we can turn the air conditioning up 1 more degree and save on utilities because I get kind of cold. So start looking at things that you can start eliminating, and we'll talk more about this too in a later video when it comes to budgeting. And lastly, why we are tracking our spending is because we want to make sure that we are focusing on our wealth building mindset. So we want to be able to generate a personal balance sheet. And if you've ever done a business balance sheet, this is very similar. The ins and outs, basically. And this is how it looks. On the left column, we have our assets. So this is money. Assets are things of value that brings value to us, and we don't have to pay money to. So assets, any cash you have on hand, money that you have, any bank accounts that you have money deposited in. If you have a cash value life insurance, include that. Current value, all investments, property that you own, cars, real estate, recreation vehicles, etc. And add that into the total column and get your total assets. And then come over here to the liabilities column, and this is all the money that you owe. These are things that you owe money on, and it's money that is going to leave you at some point in your life. So mortgage, rent, car loans, student loans, any kind of loans, outstanding credit cards or balances or other personal loans, any unpaid bills, unpaid taxes, unpaid medical bills, etc. Anything that you owe money on. I'm probably forgetting a few things in these lists, but anything that you owe money on, put into this column and add it up, and you have your total liability. So how we figure out net worth, and this is so fun because this is the net worth definition. Total assets minus total liabilities equals net worth. Now all this is the current value of your total assets or total liability. So all this can change, and we're going to talk about time value of money because of different interest rates and everything that's going on. But when you're doing this is the current value of your total assets, current value of your total liabilities, and that equals your net worth. So now you have a good starting point to start building towards wealth, to start generating more wealth. You're tracking your spending. We over this video we talked about how you can track your spending. And we started focusing on, where can we increase our assets and where can we lower our liabilities to find our net worth. Hey, my name's Jack. In today's lesson, we are going to be covering the time value of money. So, this is going to be focusing on the different concepts of how money can grow for us over time and how we can use time to increase our wealth or how it can hurt our wealth. So, let's get into it. The first part we're going to cover is just the principle of time value itself. So, what exactly is the time value of money? So, the principle, the debate between economists and financial experts is it's better to have money now so you can use it than receive the same amount of money later. And that's a very basic kind of outlook on the time value principle of money. But what happens is this goes for any kind of money that's earned or any money that's spent through loans. So the argument for earning money now or trying to earn as much money at a younger age is kind of the sounding theme of this is our earning potential is much higher today. We can do through investments, we can save money, we can use the money for better things now today with our money. So earning as much money as possible at a younger age or in the now, in the present, helps us to create money and earn money in the future. And there's a whole formula for this. If you're interested, if you want to nerd out like me, you can take a look at it. And you can pause this video if you want to take a look at time value formula, but not too important for us. But just know that there is a bunch of math involved with this argument, with this principle. So how can we use the time value principle in our financial journey? Now, what can we do to leverage this? The first thing is we can find ways to earn as much money as we can now. So find ways to, and that doesn't mean, get a better paying job, though that's part of this. You can get higher income. You can find ways to earn more money, work side jobs, whatever it is, get a side hustle, start a business. This also can mean, though, saving money, investing money. A big part of that saving money is eliminating debt spending. So cut up your credit cards. Don't take out any more loans. Stick with the debt you have already, but don't add on to that. And of course, pay off that consumer debt as soon as possible. So pay off those credit cards, pay off that personal loan, whatever it is that you need to pay off, get it done. Then start creating multiple passive income streams. So there'll be another video about this topic, but create other ways to generate money, to earn more money. It kind of goes back to that first step. And then, of course, invest as much and as often as we can. And I'm going to talk about this later on. So, part of investing is using compound interest to grow money. So, how can I grow money and make more wealth, generate more wealth, and let my money work for itself? So, if you don't know what compound interest is, two basic interests. There's simple interest, and then there's compound interest. Compound interest is interest earned on top of interest. And the thing that we need to be aware of here is I put money earned, interest earned. This can also work backwards against us. Be aware that you may be paying compound interest on loans that you owe. So if you miss payments, you got to pay a fee, whatever it is. Some bank tools that you can use to earn compound interest. Savings accounts, CDs, certificate of deposits, and money market accounts are all good ways that you can, first of all, save your money, so help your budgeting, but also you can earn money on top of money. So how it works is you put your money in the bank account, they pay you interest rate. You put that interest, whatever it is, say it's usually not much, say it's like $20 for 3 months. You put that $20 back into that account, and then all of a sudden you have your money that you initially put in there plus your $20 on top of that. Then you get to earn interest on that. So you're earning interest on top of the interest. And there's some investing tools that we're going to talk about later too to earn compound interest. Corporate bonds, treasury bonds, high yield funds, or stocks. These type of assets pay interest. They usually pay some kind of interest every month, maybe every 3 months, depends on how you set it up. And you can reinvest that interest and all those gains that you make in that investment and earn even more money. So, a thought exercise for you. Pause this video if you need to. I want you to pick one of the two choices. So think about this. Pick one of the two choices. The first choice, you're given $1 million right now, no questions asked, and do whatever you want. You walk away, whatever. You can get you can get $1 million, or you are given a penny today, so just 1 cent, but you're guaranteed that it will double in value every day for a month. So pause this video real quick. Which one would you choose? So this is an age-old question that you usually see in economy and in economics or in a personal finance class. If you're just given $1 million today, you could. The argument is, I don't like that this. I got this from DIYinvesting.org, but it's flat. If you just earn $1 million today, most people would spend it. That's why it's arguing that the time value over a month is not good. Um, some people say, oh, well, you can invest that $1 million, and you can. But this is just showing you compound interest and how it can work. So if you get a penny and you start doubling it, you're going to be flat for a long time. But when you get to that day 25, it starts increasing, and you end up by day 31 with almost $11 million. Penny versus $1 million. Of course, you can go back to that green line like, whoa, on day one, if I had $1 million, I can invest it right now and make even more money. But that's just a look, an argument of, if I doubled my compounding interest versus most people, they earn $1 million right away. They're given to it like the lottery winners. They end up spending it. So how loans can impact the time value of money. So this is important for us to understand the money that we spend versus saving. Like how much, if we're in a lot of debt, this can impact our potential wealth. So interest charged versus interest earned is a very important point we need to talk about. So interest charged is money that you have to pay when you take out a loan. So when you get a loan, no matter every loan that you ever get out from a bank or some kind of financial institution, not only do you have to pay the loan amount, you also have to pay the interest. That's part of the charge since they're giving you that money, since it's a service that they're offering you. Versus interest earned is money that you earn, of course, in what we've already discussed. So interest charged, that goes on to consumer debt. And these are the biggest items. I'm not talking about mortgages right now or business loans. Consumer debt's the biggest thing that Americans need to focus on. Consumer debt's personal loans, credit cards, auto loans, student loans, and I've seen just recently credit card loans it's increasing. Credit card loan debt has increased even more this year than last year, and it carries the highest. These type of loans carry the highest interest rates and often the least favorable terms as well. Consumer debt, like credit cards, usually have what's known as a variable interest rate. And that rate changes depending on numerous factors. Is the economy doing well? Is your credit score good? Is your credit score bad? This all depends. This all could change that rate, and not for the best. So I think right now a credit card you can get like 17, 18% interest rate, and that can jump up to 28% next month if something happens. So if you don't know how it works, is with variable interest and with consumer debt, a principal is the total amount of the loan. So whenever you go to get a loan, and credit cards are a little bit different, but say you get a personal loan, you get a $10,000 personal loan, that's the principal. On top of that, there probably is a variable interest rate built in. So you have to pay down the principal through what's known as premiums each month. It might be something different, depends on your loan situation. But that's your monthly payments, and that can be principal plus interest. That should be that you'll see it. You'll see how much principal you're paying down versus how much interest you're paying down. And the more and more, the higher the principal or the variable rate of the consumer debt you take out, the more interest you got to pay. So this hurts the time value of our money because this is money that we have to pay. If we get rid of those interest payments, we can get rid of those premiums, that principal, then that can be more money that we put in our own investments and less money we put into our debt obligations. So just know that this interest can increase. It can start compounding against us. So just like we can earn a lot of money through compound interest, we can also lose a lot of money and owe a lot of money. Inflation. Inflation is a big topic right now in the United States and across the world, but especially in the United States since our inflation rate just shot up this year. Inflation's impacting the time value of money. So inflation, if you don't know what that means, is the general rise in prices. So normally there's always some kind of level inflation. The normal level is 1 to 3%. Just because there's new businesses being developed, more people are being born, There's a growth in the economy in some sectors. So you always want a normal rate of inflation. Usually you want it around 2%. That's kind of like the target. A normal savings account earned interest today goes from anywhere between 0 and 2%. I've never seen it at 2%. So you got to have a lot of money usually to get that kind of interest rate. Not that good though. So usually economists and financial experts will say that we need to find investments that earn us around 4% or greater. That way we're beating inflation and we're earning some money. However, inflation rate today, as of the reports of July 2022, so last month, it's August now, and we'll get the reports at the end of this month. But inflation as of July 2022, it depends on where we get our information. But right now, there's several sources saying somewhere between 8 and 9%. So it's tough. It's tough. It's hard to find. I can't put need to find investments that earn 4+% or 8 to 9+%. That's difficult right now. This is a weird time though. This is not like the normal. It might be the normal for the next few months, but eventually, just like the economy has several times. I mean, our inflation's been higher than this even. I think the last time it was this high though was in the 80s. So inflation rate, it can affect time value of money because we we can't earn this much. So money now for something is going to cost, if this rate continues, it's going to cost us a lot more money in the next few months or the next year. So hopefully eventually it'll start going down. Just know that this is not the norm and it's going to be difficult for a little bit, but we need to understand if you can find investments such as real estate that can actually beat inflation. So real estate is a great place to be if you're able to find ways to invest in real estate that can combat inflation for us. I like to show this U.S. inflation calculator. So if I click this site, it goes to this calculator here, and you can type in it all the way back to 1913. But I just like to see, since 2019, before the pandemic, how crazy something was. So I'm going to type in like $30,000 just to keep it simple here. If I wanted a car in 2019 at $30,000, I'm still eyeballing that car and I haven't done anything with my money. In 2022, as of June, when as of July, there we go. The Bureau of Labor Statistics had produced more information there. So that car at $30,000 would now be $34,000. So I've lost the time value of money. I've lost almost $5,000, especially if I was just saving that money and not investing it in any way. So the cumulative rate of inflation is almost 16% in just 3 years. So all this it impacts the way we view money, the long term outlook of our wealth, and how we can get around it. Some people want to get ahead in their personal finances and start making a financial plan. And the first thing we need to do is start getting in charge of our savings, start building up savings goals, and get on a plan to help us save. My name's Jack, and in today's lesson, I'm going to be covering different savings tips, different bank accounts we should use, and the process it takes to start saving. So, the first thing we need to do, the very first step, is build an emergency fund. And this fund will range. I put different amounts here. It's going to range to different numbers, 500 to 2,000 to 5,000. This depends on your lifestyle, where you live, your job situation, if you have a family or not. All that factors in on how much this should be. Just know that this is your starter emergency fund. If you just don't know how much you need to put away, just stick to 1,000 for now, and just use that as your base level emergency fund. Again, start emergency fund. You're going to want to build that once you're financially able to. Build that even more. It should be covering about 3 to 6 months of living expenses or more if you want to, depending on your comfort level. And what I mean by living expenses is essentials only, needs only. So, what you would do to figure this out is you would pick 1 month to cover these things. So, rent or home payment, food, transportation, and utilities. Those four things, I would calculate that out for the whole month, and then I would multiply it by how many months I want covered. So I want at least 3 months, and at most 6 months. If not, you can do as much as you want. That's why it's called personal finance. But I need at least 3 to 6 months of these expenses. The next thing I need to do is start a budget, and there's all different types of tips and strategies to start a budget. But basically, you just need to do one. If you're not doing anything, pick a budget plan and stick to it. You can write it down. You can have an Excel program. There's some online banks already have built-in software to help you with your personal budgeting, and there's even apps that will automate all this for you. I'm going to share with you just one kind of easy budget tip, budget strategy, whatever you want to call it, plan. It's probably one of the easiest plans just so you can just get started and get going. So it's called the 50-30-20 rule. And what this means is you take all of your income, all of your after tax income, and you divide that up between 50-30-20. 50% of that of your money goes to your needs, 30% of it goes to spending money on your wants. So that's like toys, going out to dinner, maybe entertainment goes in there. And then 20% of that goes into savings and investing. Very simple rules to follow. And again, this is great for anybody who just doesn't know and just needs a plan right now and needs to put some action on their financial savings. This is a great place to get started. A great rule to follow to get started. Now that we know some different tips here, now we can start creating separate bank accounts. So we want to create a savings account. I'm going to talk more about savings account here in a second. We want to create one just for an emergency fund. And then we can create one for each savings goal. So say maybe we want to buy a car, maybe we want to move out of our parents' house, maybe we want to buy a house, maybe we want to start renting, maybe we want to go to college. We create an emergency fund. That's going to be, we put $2,000 or whatever our monthly expenses in one account. We leave it there. We don't touch it. We don't look at it. And then we create different savings accounts for each goal that we might have. We also need to understand the difference between checking accounts and savings accounts. So checking accounts, these are personal spending accounts. You're not going to put much money in these. Money in these accounts, they can be withdrawn as many times as you want. You can go up to the teller and withdraw it. You can swipe it on an ATM card or debit card. You can withdraw it online, whatever you need. So checking accounts, these accounts should be used for our day-to-day expenses, like we're buying groceries, we're filling up our gas tank, whatever. And they can be used for expenses that you have throughout the month. That's budgeted. Make sure I say that. Savings accounts are different. Savings accounts are reserve financial accounts to store money. So we put money there. We're not spending this money until something happens. One or two things need to happen. These are not to be used for any expenses except for emergency fund or the savings goal was achieved. So if I have an emergency, a legit emergency, then I can spend that money. Or if I have a savings goal of, say, I wanted to buy a $5,000 car and I finally have that $5,000, and then I can start using that money. Savings accounts will have restrictions and limits, so that's why they're built that way for a reason. There are many different types of savings accounts, so I'm going to go over these and also with how these accounts are best used. So the first type is a high yield savings account. So it's different from a traditional savings account. And today, some people might argue there is no high yield savings accounts because savings interest rates are so low right now, and you would be right. So high yield savings accounts, these are accounts that you could find. There are some online accounts that have higher than average interest rates, and by average I mean compared to other bank accounts. These are best used for starter savings accounts and short-term goals. Another type is a money market account. So money market account is another type of high yield interest earning account, and they usually will have some kind of a minimum deposit requirement. So that means you need to put at least $1,000 in to start, or I've seen some as low as $100, but they will have some kind of limit, and there's transfer limits. So sometimes I've seen three. You can only transfer money out. You can transfer as much money as you want in. I need to make sure I disclaim that. You can put as much money as you want in, but to take money out, to transfer the money out, they'll usually have like a 3 transfer limit or maybe 5-time transfer limit. And this is best used for emergency funds or medium term savings goals. Next one's a CD. A CD is kind of a hybrid of investment and a savings account. It's another high interest savings tool that banks can offer, but there's a lot of rules and restrictions on how you can access your money. So it's best used for extra savings and long-term goals. So usually it's one of the highest interest earning savings tools accounts that you can use, but you can't access your money for 3 to 5 or 1 year. There's some even with like 6 months. So you put your money in a CD and it can grow with interest, but you can't touch it until that maturity date comes. So say you buy a 1-year CD from your bank, you can't access that money for a whole year. Now you can, but you got to pay a huge penalty, and you don't want to do that because then you're losing money. And then we have tax-free savings accounts. I'm going to talk more about this in the later part of this lesson. So tax-free savings accounts are savings and investing accounts that have tax advantages that are built in, and this is usually aimed for things like health, retirement, and education. So let's talk about some of those retirement savings and education savings plans. So retirement savings accounts, you have IRAs and 401ks are the most common one. And there's two different types of individual retirement accounts. That's what IRA means. We'll go over those first. So traditional IRA, this is before tax money. So you're putting money into this before taxes. And you can write this off on your taxes as a tax deduction each year. Both traditional and Roth IRAs, as of 2022, currently have a $6,000 contribution limit. You can put as much as you want, but for tax benefits, you can only put $6,000. And anybody can start an IRA. So anybody, even if you're 18 years old and you don't have a job, you can still start an individual retirement account. No matter what job you have, you can start an individual retirement account. So what's cool about this is before tax money, the money in here grows. You can invest it in whatever you want. It's tax free, but when you retire at 59 and a half or whenever you retire, it's got to be at least 59 and a half. You have to wait until then to withdraw without being penalized. Growth is tax free, but withdrawals are taxable at that time. Opposite of that, Roth IRAs after tax money. So your income has already been taxed. Then you can start putting that money into an IRA. Growth is tax free, and then when you retire, there are no tax withdrawals at all. So that's awesome. Some people prefer Roth IRAs because they don't want to worry about taxes then. There are ways you can use both, and you can open up both accounts if you want to. Some people have both Roth and traditional IRAs. And 401ks are probably going to be one of the first things you run into if you haven't already run into that. These are employer sponsored retirement plans, and usually they're using a 401k setting. So, I'm sorry, a traditional Roth IRA, 401k. They'll be called traditional 401ks. There are some Roth IRA, they'll be named Roth 401k. So just be aware of which one your employer is using. And what's nice about these is you put in some contribution and then your job puts in some contribution too. So they'll usually match you 5% of your income. I've seen some at 10%. I think like the industry norm, or industry meaning all of the labor department in the United States, is about 3 to 5%, and they'll match you on that, which is nice because you'll get free money out of that. The education savings accounts. So if you're starting to plan for your education, or maybe you're planning for a dependent's education future, then there's something called a 529 plan. And with this ESA 529 plan, the money grows tax free, just like a retirement account. And it's not taxed only if the money that you've put in there is used on educational expenses. And this can be a lot of things. The IRS has opened it up on what we can spend our education expenses on. So it's college tuition, books, living quarters, like board and stuff, food, community college, certificate courses, other educational expenses, master's programs, whatever. Just check with the IRS website for that year whenever you plan, because this laws change constantly. But a great way to plan for retirement and to plan for your future education, or for a dependent's future education. And just know, if you are a minor, or if you have a minor and you're wanting to get them started on a retirement plan, you can do that. You just have to open up a custodial account. And we're going to finish off and conclude this video with some money saving tips. I want to leave you just thinking about some saving tips that you can start doing today. All these are very, very easy. It's just sometimes you got to change your behavior a little bit. So track expenses. We talked about this in an earlier video too. We'll keep bringing that up, but track expenses. Write them down or keep them on a receipt. Keep all your receipts. Sometimes just doing this action can really open up your eyes on, dang, I'm spending a lot of money in XYZ category. Maybe I can limit that. Start budgeting, of course. Mention that. Pay yourself by budgeting your savings. So the first item that you should put into your budget is how much do you need to save, and start putting that into your savings goals. And set goals for your savings. Set up direct deposit or your income if you own your own business or something, to go into your savings first. So don't put it in your checking automatically. Put it into your savings first, and then you can pay yourself by transferring that money to your checking if you need to. Meal prep. I can't say this enough. I'm a huge proponent of this. Meal prep. That means get on a meal plan that you plan on that you plan on eating for that week. It's usually good for a week. And write down all the ingredients you need. Go to the store, get those ingredients for all those meals you're going to make: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, whatever. Go to the store, only buy those items, and then leave the store. Don't buy anything outside. Make sure you eat before you go to the grocery store. It's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine of going to the store and buying a snack that I don't need. Don't impulse buy. Speaking of that, don't impulse buy. If there's something you're like, oh man, I really want that toy. I really want this thing I don't really need. You can do the 7-day wait method. Don't buy it immediately. Think about it. Okay, I'm going to wait 7 days. If you still want it by day 7, the odds are you're not going to. By day 7, if you still really want that thing, then buy it. Use some of your want money or something, or cut spending in another area and buy this thing. But usually by that point, you forget. Cut out restaurant and bars. Usually the two biggest things that somebody can cut out, or can that you have ultimate control over, is how many times you go out to eat, or how many times you go out with friends to a bar. Or if you do go, just get water and have a good time. Always ask for cash discounts. Pay for cash up front. You'll be surprised the amount of people, especially nowadays with with cash being so tight in businesses. They don't have cash. They don't have enough to give out change. That you could ask. I mean, the worst they're going to say is no. So go ahead and ask for a cash discount. Try to reduce your power and water usage as much as possible. And I know that's difficult. Raise your AC up 1 more degree, or try to go another few days without heat. Don't get sick and don't do anything crazy. But there are ways you can cut it out, and you can reduce your power and water usage and help your utility bill. I've seen it drop just in my personal use $50 a month, which is huge, and then I can go out to eat with that money. Find a cheaper cell phone service provider. So don't use Verizon or AT&T. There's so many cheaper ones now, with technology expanding, that you can use a little cheaper cell phone service. It might not be as fast and it might not be as widely networked, but there's still options for you to use that are cheaper. And get creative with your staycations. Another word for vacation. Get creative with your staycations and your gifts. Make something at home for somebody. Some people just they'll remember that gift more. It'll be more special to them if you were to make something and find something a little bit more creative than just buying something off Amazon and sending it to them. Go on hikes. Find some cheap dates that you can do that are going to be a little bit more fun and will help save money. So that's it for this video. I'm just covering some savings tips, and these are just important strategies that we need to do in order for us to get in charge of our savings and get on a good savings plan. Hey, my name's Jack. Today in this video, I'm going to be covering strategies on how we can manage debt. So first of all, I'm going to quickly go over and just review for a lot of people types of debt and how they work. So the first one is the mortgage debt, and that's kind of probably the biggest one that most of us will ever take unless you're getting business. So it's a loan on a property. It's usually going to be a low fixed interest long-term loan. We're talking 15, 20, 30, 40 years, depending on the loan we take out. Credit cards, personal loans, and they'll have variable interest rate. Now notice I put variable and then fixed interest rate here. So fixed interest will stay the same no matter what. Well, variable, think of change. Variable is another word for change. So the interest rate can change depending on a number of factors, economic factors, or your own choices. And usually credit cards are lumped in with considered the most dangerous consumer debt. They have the highest interest rate compared to many other loans. Personal loans are small loan amounts, usually not more than $10,000, and they can be used for various reasons. Typically, these will come with higher interest rates, but not as high as credit cards. And these are also considered installment loans, since you'll get the whole lump sum of how much ever you want, the whole balance, and then you'll pay that installment over time. Auto loans, also an installment loan. Loans used for car buying, usually resulting in short to medium term loans, so no more than 10 years, usually fewer than 10 years. Interest rates are usually fixed, and I put usually because sometimes used car dealerships, I've seen it before, where they'll have variable interest rates. Run away from those if you happen upon them. In that repayment process, interest rates are going to be fixed, and they're usually lower than personal and credit cards. Payday loans, these are probably, you can make an argument that they are equivalent in dangerous level as credit cards. Payday loans, They're also short-term loans. In fact, they're really short-term loans. They're usually only a couple months of repayments with high interest rates. And this is what happens usually when you take a loan from a payday lender. You you basically surrender your paycheck until that loan is paid off, plus interest. And these go from I've seen them at 10, I've seen them at 15% before. In interest that you owe, and they'll hold on to your paycheck. You won't get any of it until the loan has been satisfied. The loan payment has been satisfied. Similar to title bonds when they take something as collateral like your car. Student loans I'm going to talk more about in a little bit. Student loans have lower interest rates, and they're usually long-term loans depending on how you have them structured. People can pay for education, so you can pay for your 4-year degree, you can pay for your master's, you can pay for community college, you can pay for anything using that student loan money that's related to your education, like food and books, computers, whatever, any other supplies you might need. Often these loans are heavily regulated by state and federal government, so usually small businesses can't, private loans still can, but it's difficult to take advantage of students. What's nice about student loans is you don't have to pay them until you're done with college or done with whatever activity you got the loan for. Then you start paying them. So loans are important to understand when it comes to credit scores. When you want to understand loans, you have to understand credit scores first. So credit scores will affect our interest rate on our loans. Usually the higher the score, the lower the interest we get, the more favorable terms, basically. The better score, favorable terms. Lower score, not so good terms, which results in higher interest. And credit score is determined by calculating 5 different categories. You can see them there, payment history being the biggest one. Payment history and credit usage are the 2 biggest ones, and the mix of the other categories down here. Credit scores that can range from, it depends on, there's 3 big credit reporting companies, but it ranges from about 850 being the best to 250 or lower, being the worst. So if you want to know how to quickly improve your credit score, I put some tips here, and there are some more advanced tips that you can read and study about later. So you need to review your credit report and see your total debt picture. You need to see how much you owe. You need to take notice and acknowledge, like, this is how much I owe, this is how much debt I have, so then you can start making plans to get rid of it. Organize all your bills and loans. So I'm going to talk more about snowball versus avalanche method later on, but make sure you have a plan for all these bills and loans and how you're going to pay them off. And also which ones are the most damaging to you right now. You want to aim for using 30% of your credit line. So if you're using way more than that, try to narrow that down. If you're only using like 5%, maybe bump that up, pay that off. But you want to use about 30% of your total overall credit line. Eliminate or greatly limit any credit or any new credit and any credit limits. So if you know something bumped up in limit, bring it down. If you are thinking about applying for new credit, don't do it. You can use thin credit line credit file tactics like Experian Boost and Ultra FICO. What this means basically is even if your credit score is bad and you're using all types of credit, you can still use these methods because those products, and there's other ones out there, they'll think that a thin credit file basically is you don't have much credit history. You haven't used many loans, you haven't taken out many credit cards, and Experian Boost and Ultra FICO and a few others, they'll use other things to help bump your credit score up. Make sure you handle delinquent default accounts first. So this is why it's important to organize your bills and loans, because you want to handle your most dangerous loans first and try to settle those debts. Call them up, try to get it resolved as quickly as possible. And then consolidate debt. I'm going to talk about this more later on too, but consolidate your debt into one account, or as many as you can at least, into one managing account. And then finally, I'm going to talk more about this too, and I'm going to keep bringing it up because I think it's so important. Monitor and budget your process. And make sure you set checkpoints, goals. Celebrate some small wins too if you can. You paid half of a loan off. Make sure you celebrate it. And make sure you always budget this. Another important factor we need to know is amortization schedule. So what that is a loan repayment schedule that is paid by installments. And how that works is these installments, monthly payments, part of that payment will go to the principal and part of it goes to interest. Now, usually in amortization schedules, the first few payments will focus more on the interest and less on the principal. But what's important to know is the principal is the amount of the loan you took. So you get a $50,000 loan out, that becomes the principal. And the interest is whatever the bank or financial institution you got the loan from charges on it. Most of the amortization payments and the installments, most of that's going to go to pay off the interest first, and then it'll pay just a little bit towards the principal. But this changes over time as you start paying more and more. This is why it's so important to understand amortization, because if you can make smaller payments, even if it's only $50 a month or $100 a month, that money, that extra money can go to pay off the principal, which in return lowers the interest. So you're saving a lot of money over time. And one of the most important things, probably the biggest pain point for many Americans, is tackling college debt and knowing how to handle it. So I'm going to give you a few strategies on doing that. And this can also apply to other loans as well. So first, consolidate. Consolidate means there's consolidation loan companies out there. You can lump all your loans into one account and you can negotiate for a lower interest rate. But beware when you do this. Make sure you talk to the person or get some advice on this, because further advice than just my video here, because there's a lot of restrictions here. There might be some fees built into this too. They only allow, some of these companies, they only allow certain people with certain income levels or with certain credit scores before they do this. But it can help, because instead of paying like 4 or 5 loans in 4 or 5 different places, they can bring it all together into one loan. Apply for government relief programs or debt forgiveness. And find an employer or opportunity that may offer repayment programs. So there's some jobs that might help pay, and there's some industries that if you work in that industry, like school teachers, or in some states, make sure you check with the state, or some federal federal agencies, departments, they will offer repayment if you work there for 5 or 10 years. They'll help pay and get rid of your college debt. And of course, budget. Can't say it enough. Focus any extra income on the debt. Pick a debt payment strategy, stick to it. With consolidation, we can also talk about restructuring loans. So these, I would make sure, I'm just showing you some different restructuring types, but all of these you'll need to run by a lawyer or a CPA, your accountant, before you get any further in considering these. So just quickly, consolidations as a way to do that, refinancing, a court restructure, bankruptcy, same thing. These are court cases though. These are, I would say these ones right here are the most dramatic ones. So if you are, in a desperate financial situation, then consider these, because they are a long, costly, and emotionally draining process. Always ask for settlements and reductions. So for these two, just pretend that you have a big medical bill. You can call the hospital. You had something done. It cost $40,000. You only have $20,000. You settle with them like, hey, this is what I got. You either take it or leave it, or you're not going to see any money. And sometimes, and a lot of times, especially credit card companies, I've noticed, they'll accept the settlement so they can just close that account and move on. So paying off debt quickly, we talked about how that we can build our credit score, and these go hand in hand, paying off debt quickly and saving on interest rate. First thing, once again, review, get on a budget, paying a little bit where you can. So pay a little bit extra where you can. This will help pay down that principal, which in turn lowers your interest. That helps save on interest. Try lowering your bills. Find ways to lower your bills. If it's something that you can't afford or you're never going to get out, then see if you can lower that bill. Increase your income. So this is always important. More money will always help, right? Increase your income. Get a second job. Ask for a raise. Start a business. All that extra income can go towards paying off that debt. And then seek debt relief. Again, I mentioned that earlier. Seek debt relief where you can with any government agency or business that you're a part of. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the importance of getting on a personal debt repayment plan. So it's kind of like a budget. In fact, they go together. You have to do one and the other. So you want to list all of your debts and loans. Get them all, get all the account information, get the contact information. Then you want to organize this. And there's two big ways that you can organize this. One's called the snowball method, which means you're organizing and paying your loans from the smallest loan principal, smallest balance, to the largest balance. So the good news about this is you get the psychological wins. You start paying those small loans off and knocking them out quick, and then you move on to the next loan, then do it again, do it again. You get those small wins. Whereas the other method, the avalanche method, you're going to list them from highest interest rate to the lowest rates, to the lower rates. Mathematically, the avalanche one makes sense. So if you're a principled person, you're disciplined, avalanche is usually mathematically the best one. But psychologically and emotionally, snowball's the best one. So make sure you understand, which one's the best, and have somebody with you to go through that. Either one's good though. Just choose one and go through it and organize your debts from whichever method you choose. Find areas of your budget to cut to focus on loans. So if you can cut out spending on the weekend, if you can cut out going out with your friends for a weekend, or if you can cut out one extra trip that you take a year, use those areas of your budget to focus on paying off that debt. And then find ways to make extra payments. So once you've done that, then you can make those extra payments. And I can't express this enough how much, even $50, even $100 can change a month. It can change the course. Not only will you pay less over time if you can do that, but you'll also be paying, you'll knock out that debt quicker, which means you'll be out of debt quicker, saving yourself time and emotional stress. Focus on the most damaging debt first. So if one of these methods just doesn't make sense to you, and you have one that's like such a glaring loan or glaring debt that's just eating away, focus on that one first, and then focus on the next one and move from there. And then finally, to end this lesson, build up. You need to make sure you build up an emergency savings fund. And I kind of put these in order, but you could perhaps consider putting emergency fund first. Build up an emergency savings before you start doing this. And I put this at the end because kind of an optional / you need to do it, but I put it at the end because everybody's personal finances are different. Just make sure that you have an emergency savings because something can happen on your debt payoff journey. So make sure that you do this so that you can protect you and your family while you're trying to create this personal debt repayment plan. Hey everyone, my name is Jack Warner. In this video, I'm going to be covering the basics of using our investments to help grow wealth. And in this video series, the other videos after this video, I'm going to get into more details and strategies and covering different assets that can help us grow wealth. But this is just laying the outline, the basics of why and how we can use investments to grow wealth. So getting started, I have to bring it back to some of our earlier lessons and videos we discussed through budgeting and saving. And we can use extra money from budgeting and saving to help us reach our goals. So a lot of this might be review, but saving money by cutting out wasteful spending and budgeting, and you have to think about it this way: I can save money instead of going out to eat when I don't need to because I already have food at the house. I can use that money and invest it and make money off that. So that's the way we have to change our mindset is where can it doesn't have to be like, oh, I could save so much. I can live in my car and not have a house and not have rent and invest that. Now I've heard of some people doing that. That's to each their own at that point, but you want to have a fine balance. There are some ways we can save. We can budget and we can save and we can cut wasteful spending, use that savings to plow right into our investments. And budgeting and making a plan for your money, it'll help you achieve goals. It'll help us get out of debt. It'll help us save money. And of course, our goal for this video, we're going to be focusing on it can help us invest more money. So especially if we get out of debt. If we're getting out of debt, there's no more debt payments. We can use those payments that we're paying off debt to put right into our investments. We also can take advantage of tax advantaged accounts. It's a mouthful there, but we can take advantage of tax advantage accounts. So first of all, where can we find assets and investments to that we don't have to worry about paying taxes in the future? Or where can we lower our tax deductible income? So there's different ones here. Prioritize putting money into investing accounts that have big tax advantages. So there's different ones. There's pre-tax, post-tax. Less money towards taxes, and we can put that money more towards wealth and other goals. So different examples here, like your 401k, tax advantage. Your Roth IRA, which this 401k is your pre-tax income, where Roth IRA, you already been taxed on it, but you never have to get taxed on it again. Traditional IRAs, same as 401ks. Health savings accounts, so you can put money in a health savings account. That money is first of all tax deducted. So how much you put towards the HSA is tax deductible. Any expenses, medical expenses that are qualified are tax free. So any withdrawals you make, any growth in that account is tax free. So that's like triple tax advantage there. And then your educational savings accounts, and there's various ones there. And you can check out our other videos and other investment series to get a breakdown of each one of these. But all of these share a common trait, and that's less money goes towards taxes, more money goes towards your wealth. Now, all these also have qualifications and limits and different regulations that you'll need to understand before you get involved with them. But you need to make sure you're maximizing your investments in these accounts first. And then we can make our money, understand you can make your money work for you. Don't let it take control of you. You control your money. And you use this money to create more opportunities for yourself and for others. So invest in assets that hold value and give a decent return on investment, also known as ROI. So you don't want to spend money on things, right? We do have to spend money on food. We do have to spend money on other stuff. I have a friend who wasn't in the right, wasn't trained in financial, was never educated. Most Americans aren't. We weren't trained in financial basics in high school or college. My friend went out and spent a ton of money on a credit card, jet skis, toys, guns, just a bunch of crap that he didn't need. And now he's facing all this debt. And instead of investing in assets, he bought things that he barely used. And a lot of Americans do this. I mean, they'll buy toys that don't hold value. They'll buy new trucks that don't really hold much value. They'll buy boats that they use 3 times a year. And you're not going to get a return on investment on those things. Now you could rent them out. You can start a business. There are ways to do it, but you want to make sure you're focusing on assets that hold value and give a decent return on investment. Don't invest things. Don't invest in things you do not feel comfortable with or you don't know. Invest if a friend's asking for, hey, give me $10,000 so we can start this business. You probably won't feel comfortable with that. That's probably not a good financial decision for you. So move on from that. Find another opportunity. Understand that wealth takes time too. This is not an overnight thing. Very rare, very, very rare. Like 0.0001% of people that become wealthy in less than a year, let alone a couple of years. This is going to take a long time of letting your money work for you, compounding interest, allowing that to work, and allowing your wealth to build and build and build, and taking advantage of those tax advantage accounts. We also need to diversify. If we want our investments to help us grow wealth, we need to diversify. So this is where you get that saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You want to split your investments into different areas. So I don't want to put it all in Tesla, even though Tesla, well, it depends on how you view stocks. But Tesla might be a successful company and it might do good, but they go through swings. They go through some crazy swings, ups and downs for sure. So you want to make sure you're splitting your investments. Don't put it all in one car, or don't even put it in one. Don't put it in all the auto industry. Split it up. Put some in tech. Put some in agriculture. Put some in pharmaceuticals. So you'll make sure you're splitting your investments up, and then don't focus on the stock market too. Put some money in real estate. Put some money in a business that you're starting or whatever. Have a healthy balance of higher risk investments. So you want to make sure that you understand your risk assessment first, your risk tolerance, and then you want to have a healthy balance. So you need higher risk investments and low risk conservative investments when you are investing. To make sure that high risk investments, they're going to help you grow more money, where low risk investments are going to help you with that conservative piece where you can handle more risk, but also it won't have wide, crazy, volatile swings in value. And make sure to keep a percentage of your investment cash as cash. So if you have an investment account, say you put $50,000 in it, you invest $25,000 of it in a year or two. So you have $25,000 left over in cash. Keep that there for a little bit. Put more money into it, and then you can invest more. But you always want to make sure you have some. It doesn't have to be 50%. That's just an easy math example for me. But make sure you keep a certain percentage of that cash, of your investment cash, as liquid, because you want to make sure that if something were to happen, say the stock market plummets, you're able to slowly build and reinvest into the market. That's the best time to buy, is when the market is down. So that way you can start building into it and helping you get back up in value. And then lastly, in conclusion of this video, we want to make sure we're automating and staying consistent. So we want to set up your budgeting and financial accounts to automatically transfer funds 2 savings, and investments. On top of that, we want to make sure we're automatically setting up your investments to invest a budgeted amount in certain assets each year, each month, each week, however your investments are set up, each time period. So going to step one here, when we set up our budgeting accounts and financial bank accounts, investments, I'm just kind of grouped it all into one. We want to automatically have transferred amounts. So from our savings to our checking, so we can pay off certain expenses, we can pay for rent, pay for food, etc. And then we also want a portion of our savings going to investments. So we have, just say, let's just use $100. You have this audit. You can set this up on most bank accounts, on most financial apps. You can have this automatically set up. Each time your paycheck hits, a certain amount goes to your checking to pay for stuff. A certain amount goes to savings to help build for your emergency savings or whatever your savings goal is. And then a certain amount goes to your investments. Let's just say $100 goes there. And you have this set up every time your paycheck hits, or it doesn't have to be a paycheck. It's just that's the easiest one to follow. It can be once a week. You have $100 going to your investments. And then on top of that, you have your investment account over here where you can say you want to put in $50 into an index fund or into some stock each day or each month, whatever time period you choose, you can have that automatically set up. With that too, with your investments, we can go even deeper. If you can set up investments to reinvest any capital gains, dividends, and interest. So if you're in a fund, if you're in like a broad market index fund, that you'll be earning dividends, you'll be earning some capital gains. Choose that option to reinvest. So you're saving yourself a tax hit on that first, but also you're able to reinvest, and that money is able to reinvest, and it grows through compound interest, through the power of compound interest, and that money is making even more money. So your money that's already working for you is now working for itself, and so on and so forth. You can see how that spirals, which is good. We want that spiral. And then keep doing this for months and years, and increase this if you can over time. So say the first year you start out with $10,000, or the first month you start out with just a couple $100. Try to increase that to 150 or 200 or 300. Try to increase it by 1,000 next year. Try to increase it by 5,000 the following year or more. So you want to try to definitely keep the baseline. Don't drop below the baseline unless something crazy happens in your life and you just need to cut out investments entirely. Keep the money in. Don't sell anything, but make sure that you have at least a bottom line baseline. Stop what you're doing, pay off that debt, whatever it is, and then get right back to where you were. But definitely try to be consistent. This is probably the biggest thing of using your investments to grow wealth is automate this process and stay consistent, and then try to beat that consistency as well. Try to beat that baseline.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Principles of Investing. I'm Gregg Kilpack. I'm a senior investment strategist and trainer currently working for Personify. In Lesson 1, we're going to talk about market cycles. Market cycles are critical to understand because they help investors know when it's the right time to buy and sell stocks. Over the short term, all stocks move up and down, and it's really hard to tell what it's going to do next. But over longer periods of time, the stock market moves in fairly predictable cycles. So if you understand how the market moves during these cycles, you can anticipate with a pretty good degree of accuracy what's going to happen next. I'll show you what I mean throughout this lesson. Before we go any further, let's cover the disclaimer. These lessons are for educational purposes only. Anything discussed is not to be considered a recommendation or solicitation to buy or sell any security. You are responsible for your own trading decisions. Always do your own research before investing in any securities. Please pause this video and read the rest of the disclaimer. It turns out that stocks move up and down together just like a school of fish. When the market is going up, almost all stocks go up with it. Well, why is that? It's because when the economy is expanding, most of the companies in the New York Stock Exchange, well, they're going to expand with it. Almost all the companies on the New York Stock Exchange are big, established companies, have been around a long time, and they have proven business models. And so as long as the economy is growing, which it generally does over time, well, the market will go up, and almost all stocks will go up with it. Likewise, when the market is going down over time in a bear market, well, almost all stocks will go down. In fact, over 95% of stocks will go down when the market is going down over a period of time. So that's important that you need to know. It turns out that when you buy a stock is just as important as which stock you buy, because over time, if you buy and sell at the wrong time, you can lose money regardless of which stock that you buy. So I'm going to show you a chart in just a moment of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but you need to know what that is. It is an average of 30 big stocks that are on the New York Stock Exchange. Companies that you've heard of like United Health Group, Goldman Sachs, Home Depot, Microsoft, McDonald's, and so forth. You've heard of just about all these companies. They're all huge companies that have been around for a long time, and they have proven business models. So as the economy grows, almost all of these companies will grow with it, and their stock prices will go up over time. And likewise, when a bear market comes along, they'll all go down pretty much together. So here's the Dow Jones Industrial Average over time. This is a chart going back 15 years. It's currently August 2022. What we see is this bull market lasting 13 years or so. And we see the previous bear market. So there are some things that you need to see about this and need to know. The goal of investing is to stay invested throughout a bull market and then step aside before a bear market comes along where prices get hit really hard. I'm not concerned about the little losses that happen right there. Throughout a normal year in the stock market, stocks pull back maybe anywhere from 5 to 15% on any given year. Stocks don't go straight up. They bounce around. They go up and down and up and down. So I'm not too concerned about these little moves within a year, but I am concerned about a bear market where stocks will drop over a 1.5 to 3 year period as much as 50% or more. That's a really harrowing experience if you've ever gone through that. When the market goes down like that, we want to step aside for two reasons. First off, of course, is the financial loss, but even worse than that is the time that's wasted. If you had not sold your stocks somewhere up here at the top in 2007, and you had held on through this entire time, it would have taken you 6 years to get back to break even, all the way over here to 2013. So if you're in retirement or you just need the money, well, that's a long 6 years to wait. If you have to have the money right now, you may be forced to sell your stocks down here at lower prices, and you don't want to do that. So from the high in 2007, $100,000 would turn into $45,000 here at the low. And that again, I'm telling you, that's not a fun experience. You don't want to go through that. So I'm not concerned about the little fluctuations, but I want to avoid these big bear markets. And they come about once or sometimes twice a decade. Now, we really didn't get one at all from 2009 to 2021. Now, I'm going to talk about this in just a moment. I'm not counting that in my figures here. And the reason for that longest bull market in U.S. history, is because the government and the Federal Reserve pumped so much money into the economy that it kept going up over time, longer than it really should have. So what happened when the pandemic started in the spring of 2020, when they started to have the lockdowns and so forth, social isolation? the market tumbled 38% in a little over a month. It was like 5 or 6 weeks. And the government, of course, responded to that out of overdue caution, you might say, by dumping even more and more money into the economy, which later caused inflation in 2022 and 2021. When the Federal Reserve saw that, of course, it drove stock prices up for 2 years. But because of the inflation, they had to raise interest rates and they had to stop the quantitative easing or the stimulus. In fact, they're starting to roll it back now. It's August 2022, and they're in the process of doing that. We've had several interest rate increases this year, and we're going to have more into next year. Well, that's really going to slow down the economy, and that's going to cause the market to drop further. The thing you need to know is that within certain boundaries, the Federal Reserve and the U.S. government controls where the stock market goes, and that's exactly what they're doing, even to the point of manipulation. They're putting so much money into the economy and into the markets by buying corporate bonds, which they've never done before. All of these things drove the market up to quite high prices, very high prices. And now we have to have a correction to make up for that. And that's going to be painful over the next couple years, just to be aware of that. So we need to understand more about how these bear markets work. In the last bear market, in the chart I just showed you, the 2008 bear market, the stock market fell 55% over about a year and a half. That's pretty typical. The previous bear market, the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average both dropped 45% over a little bit under 3 years, while the NASDAQ actually dropped 70% with the tech-heavy NASDAQ. Back in the crash of 29 and the Great Depression, stocks fell 90% over less than 3 years. Now, the economy was terrible throughout the 1930s, but the stock market stopped going down within 3 years. I have never seen a bear market last longer than 3 years. So what that means is, from the high that happened in late 2021, if you fast forward 3 years, it's probably going to be time to start buying into the market by then. That's just something to be aware of. That'll help you time the markets. Now, depending on how high the market has gone, we have to correct for that. The reason why the market crashed in 1929, 90%, is because it had been so inflated and it was a much smaller U.S. economy at the time. In other words, it was a bigger bubble and it popped. So the bubble is popping now in 2022, and I would suspect we will see at least a 50% decline in the markets. That's my prediction, because what goes up too high must be corrected in equal measure. Let's go back to the chart for a second. So the high came in at over 35,000 on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. If we have a 50% pullback, where will that take stocks? It'll take us all the way down to about here, about 18,000. So what that means is, after only 8 months of being in this bear market, it's very likely that we have more to come, because most bear markets last at least a year and a half. The only reason this one only lasts a month was because, of course, the Federal Reserve came in and dumped a whole bunch of money into the economy. That's not happening right now. They're raising interest rates and slowing things down. So that means we'll probably have a normal bear market where stocks drop at least 50% over 1.5 to 3 years. That's a pretty normal prediction. There's nothing special going on about this particular bear market at this time. I know that because The government has dumped so much money into the economy that the economy is holding out pretty well so far, but we have worse to come before it's all over. Just be aware of that. I hate to be the messenger of bad news, but the worst is yet to come. Okay. So here's what I want you to remember from this lesson. First off, over time, as we go through a bull market or a bear market, as stocks move up or down over months and years, over 95% of stocks will move in the same direction. So if the market is going up like it usually does, almost all stocks are moving in the same direction. And likewise when the market is going down, like it is right now. Also, bull markets last typically 5 to 8 years, and bear markets last 1.5 to 3 years on average. However, we have to watch the government and the Federal Reserve with how much they're stimulating the economy and how much Congress is spending to determine how that's going to affect the markets. After all these things happen, we watch how the market responds to what the government is doing. So the goal of investing is to stay in the market as long as the market is going up, which it does most of the time, and then sell before a bear market comes along. In future videos, I'm going to teach you the signs that we're near the bottom or that we're near the end of a bear market or at the beginning of a bear market. That helps you to time when it's time to buy and sell your stock, these cycles. So going back to the chart, if we had sold somewhere at the top of 2007, at the high there, and bought somewhere down here, we don't have to be exactly right. We don't have to time the market perfectly to make money. We just have to step aside so that we miss most of this sell-off. It's all we have to do to really take care of ourselves and protect our money when the market's going down like it is right now. It doesn't hurt to be completely out of the market and in cash for a couple years. Don't listen to your financial advisor when they say always stay in the market. That's if you want to be a buy and hold investor and you're willing to suffer through these painful pullbacks and wait 6 years for the market to come back, well, then you can follow that advice. But most people get scared off and sell at the bottom when they should be buying. It's better to sell at the top early and then get back in when you're sure the bear market is over, even if you wait all the way to 2010 or 2011 even. So that's what you need to know. We'll dive more into how to recognize when we're at the top and the bottom of the markets in future videos. Until then, good luck in your investing.
Hey, my name's Jack, and today in this lesson I'm going to be going over how to create a financial plan and how to start getting on a budget, creating goals, and kind of making a purpose for your financial plan and for your strategies that you want to use to start getting ahead financially. So the roadmap for our financial plan that I recommend is the first step. I'm going to go through 8 different steps that you should start looking into and researching and putting some work into in order to get ahead of your financial journey here. So the first one is get on a budget. And the second one, create an emergency fund. And some of these, they can tie in together. So really you could combine step 1 and 2, both of those things, into step 1. But definitely get on a budget. So you create a plan with your money, create an emergency fund to prepare for any emergencies. Step 3 here, plan to eliminate or limit debt. Step 4, start setting financial goals. Step 5, kind of with, again, another one of those steps where you can kind of combine depending on your lifestyle and where you're at in your financial situation. Set financial goals, invest for retirement. Step 6, begin paying off the home or collecting a sizable down payment for a house if you plan on buying. Step 7, grow wealth and invest outside of retirement. So we'll talk about things like investing in real estate and such. And step 8, talk with a financial planner or advisor. If you have all this and you're ready to go, but you just need that extra push or that extra step, that extra advice. You might need to consider talking to a professional about this. So I'm going to break down, in this video, I'm going to break down all these steps in our roadmap to creating my financial plan. So first one, get on a budget, create a plan with your money. I put some other videos out about how to create a budget and different methods to use to start a budget. So make sure that whatever method you choose, you stick with it. But to start, if you just need somewhere to start, you need to write down everything you spend money on starting today and do this for an entire month. Or you can look at your expenses from last month and write those down. So you can print off your credit card statement or your bank statement, whatever you use to start tracking your expenses, whatever you use to spend money on or with or through. Make sure you have that account information so you can start. First part of any budgeting is tracking your expenses. So that's the first thing you need to do. The second step, create an emergency fund. So once you start getting that budget underway, you need to make sure you use this as a budget item. You need to start building an emergency fund. You're not going to touch this money. You're going to put it into a savings account that is very strict and limited because this is only for emergency purposes. So some examples of this, and I just put some random, not random, but just suggested amounts for each stage of life that we might find ourselves in. So us high schoolers, if you're 17, 18 years old, you might look to put $500 in. College students, it goes up a little bit. Single adult, you don't have a family, and then married, starting a family, somewhere around 2,000 to 5,000. This all depends though on your comfort level and how you want to, how much comfort you want to create for yourself. Basically, this needs to be built upon later on. This is just what's known as a starter emergency fund, though. Later on, you need to start including 3 to 6 months of living expenses into this budget. Step 3, plan to eliminate or limit debt. So the first part here is eliminate. We want to make sure we are not taking on any more consumer debt. So we're not going out and buying a car. We're not opening up another credit card line. We're not taking another line of credit from PayPal, whatever that is. Then we need to begin to start paying off that debt. So I've introduced different methods, such as a snowball method. Just to summarize what that is, you're starting with your smallest loan balance first and paying that off, and then you're moving up to your bigger ones. So you rank them from smallest to biggest balance. Or the avalanche method, where you're ranking your debts that you owe, the loans that you owe, from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. Both of them are solid methods. Snowball is usually the more popular one because of the psychological effect of, dang, I checked off that smaller loan amount. I'm moved on to the next one. Where avalanche is a little bit more for people who can handle the math and they don't need the emotional check. Plan 4, set financial goals. So whatever this might be, I show a picture here of a car, a house, bike, teddy bear, different stages of life here. But set financial goals. If you want to start a business, you might need to get different. Your financial plan is going to look a little different than someone who's wanting just to buy a house, or someone that's wanting to move out of their parents' basement, or somebody that just needs a car, or someone that wants to travel more. All your goals are going to look a little different, and you need to start setting these out too, and quantify them first. Quantify them. So how much is it going to cost? How much time is it going to take to get there? Reasonable time. And start putting these from short, mid to long-term goals. Step 5, invest for retirement. And this kind of goes with your step 4, creating a financial plan. But you want to start investing for retirement. Most financial experts say aim for 10 to 15% regardless of your goal. Aim for 10 to 15% of your take-home pay to invest. In other ways we can get started through 401ks or other employment retirement plans. And you want to be able to max these out. Max all retirement plans, 403bs, 401ks, whatever, max them out. And of course, you have traditional IRAs or Roth IRAs. You want to make sure you're maxing those out too. Number 6, step 6 in our financial plan. Begin paying off your home if you have a home. If not, collect a sizable down payment. Most financial experts, they want to claim around 20% of the total cost of the house. So make sure you can get to 20%. If not, there's other ways too. I know it's really difficult nowadays to build up to that big payment. And if you can, of course, you want to put extra money per month. Even 50, you can put this in the calculators too online. If you look up mortgage calculator and put your mortgage in, and you just put in add extra payment $50 or $100 per month, This can save so much on your interest rate and cut down the time it takes to get out of debt. Outside of retirement, so say you have your retirement maxed out, you have your goals set, you're budgeting, you're doing awesome. Now you can grow wealth and invest outside of retirement. And there's different ways. There's thousands of ways to do this. If retirement accounts are maxed out, there are other ways we can invest our money. Start building up your college fund for your children if you have them, or your own college fund. Maybe you want to go get your master's or a PhD or something. Invest in an existing business or start your own business or invest in other people's business ideas. There are all sorts of crowdfunding sources out there. Consider hiring a financial advisor. Invest in individual accounts for fun. So you want to make sure, though, that this is money that you can afford to lose. This is not retirement money. This isn't your emergency fund. This isn't your grocery budget. This is money that usually it's going to be less than 5% of your total investment money. So not even your income, just 5% of the money that you can afford to invest. Then take that percentage and something that you're okay with losing. And these would be considered taxable accounts, of course, outside of retirement. Invest in real estate and do some home flipping, rentals, Airbnbs, whatever. And the last step to help get our plan in motion, sometimes it's just that accountability factor that we need. Talk to a financial advisor or financial planner or wealth manager or financial consultant. There's so many different names they have. But if you Google that in your local area, you'll find a decent one. You definitely want to find one that has the heart of a teacher, that's gonna teach you what they're investing in and what their plan is for you and your money and your family's wealth, rather than just, oh, I'm gonna take a percentage of this and we're gonna make profit off of it. So those are the 8 steps to creating a financial plan. So I'm gonna go back through and show you all 8 steps just to review and so you can see the big picture. It's the 8 steps, the roadmap to get on my financial plan. And again, a lot of these are suggested in order. They're definitely, if you want to get on a good financial plan, these are a requirement. But in some of these, you can kind of switch the order or you can merge them into one step if needed. But definitely the last part here, I would definitely want to make sure that we understand that talking to a financial planner or even a financial coach can help you kind of solidify these and put it into writing and start making steps in order for you to create a financial plan for your family. Get started on that today and start making yourself financially free. Hey, my name's Jack. In this video, we're going to be covering how insurance works and just the basic overview of it. We're not going to be breaking down to the complexities that insurance usually is tied to. We're doing, in this video series, we're going to do a quick mini series of 4 videos, just breaking down the most common or most popular insurance. I shouldn't say popular and insurance in the same sentence. The most commonly used insurance types, and some of the concepts that you need to know so you can factor that into your financial budget. So, first of all, connecting it to finances, how do we look at insurance? And we need to look at it as risk management. So, how do we manage risk? If we are risk adverse people, then we need to make sure we need more insurance and we need more coverage and protections over certain assets and things that we value. If we're a little riskier and we like taking more risks, probably still need insurance, but might not need as much as insurance as somebody who's risk adverse. So regardless if you like risk or if you don't like risk, insurance is used to hedge against loss. That's the main purpose of it. And hedge in this phrase means to combat loss or to balance out a loss. So loss can be a financial loss. It could be if you own a business or something. It could be litigation, even if you don't own a business and you're just doing activities on your property. It can prevent unpronounced and unknowing litigation, any other kind of damages, injury to a person, loss of value of your property, whatever it might be. It helps protect against your assets. So if your asset value goes down, insurance is there to help you out. It helps protect wealth, of course, and policies. This can be frustrating. Insurance is a frustrating everything. Health insurance, car insurance, property, business. It's all extremely difficult, especially if you're dealing with a salesperson. It can give you a headache. But overall, once you have that established, it can give you a peace of mind. And we have to understand that insurance is a contract. It's an agreement between us, the insurer, and the insuring company, whatever it might be. So when you sign an insurance policy, you are agreeing to its terms, and vice versa. The company is agreeing to its terms. So it becomes contract law, which can be taken up into court. That way, they can make sure that these contracts are enforceable. Likewise, the insurance company agrees to cover the losses as agreed upon in the contract. And we need to make sure that because this is a contract, that means it's an agreement between two or more parties. We need to recognize insurance as a business model. So do that first. That'll help you. A lot of people kind of put like banks and insurance into different categories. Banks and insurance companies are businesses. We pay into the policies to protect us. That's the service or product that they are providing. They're giving us coverage for whatever, health, car, home, business, whatever. But the insurance companies have to make money. They have to profit in order to be a successful company. So we need to understand that that's how insurance companies work. They have to make money in order to profit, in order to stay in business. So though it's all well and good that they might say, oh, we care about people, we care about your property, we care about small businesses. That's awesome. But their bottom line is they have to profit. And some insurances are required by law depending on the state you live in. So the only bad thing about this can tighten our scope in the market of what we're looking for, because in almost every state, I think there's a few states that aren't, but in almost every state, it's required by law to have auto insurance or some kind of degree of auto insurance. So then it really tightens down, what kind of insurance you can get. It kind of hurts the competition a little bit and it gives us very little choice. So some need to knows with insurance, and we're going to be expanding on some of these points in later videos as well. But the premium you pay is your monthly cost of the policy. So if you hear an insurance agent or salesperson or financial advisor or whatever, they're talking about your monthly premiums. That's just the cost that you pay to be a member of that policy in order to be covered. If you don't pay your premiums, you don't get covered. Coverage is how much the company plans on covering and what they plan on covering. So if you're buying home insurance, then the home insurance company will plan on covering certain damages that could or could not may not occur, depends on the electives that you select. We'll cover the house and any damages that it might incur, and then how much they plan on covering it. So usually they cap it off at a limit. Copayment is the percentage you pay and the percentage the insurance pays. This usually is tied with health insurance or maybe even dental insurance. So you pay a certain percentage. Usually you see like 80-20, 90-10, 60-40 splits, something like that. So you pay, all the way up to 20%, and the company covers the other 80% of each visit or each product or whatever it is that you're buying. Deductible is important because this is a set amount that you, as the insured person, has to pay before paying cash out of pocket, basically, before insurance can kick in. So if you have a high deductible, just know that you have to breach that deductible before insurance will even come in and help. So if you have a $5,000 health insurance policy deductible, the health insurance company won't help until you've paid that total $5,000. So the rest of it's going to be out of pocket. Policy limit max coverage the insurance company will pay for. I mentioned that in the coverage too, and it might be mentioned in there, but health insurance, they might only cover $500,000 for that year. Car insurance, they might only cover $100,000. So make sure you understand, where is the policy limit, how much is capped off before you get involved with a policy that you may need more. You might have to spend more than what the limit is, and you can always change that, of course. The higher policy limit, usually the more expensive your premiums. And this kind of goes hand in hand here, premiums and deductibles. The higher premiums you pay, the lower deductible you have to pay, and vice versa. The higher deductible you have, the lower premium. So just understand the balances of how it works, how it generally works in the insurance policy market. Hey, my name is Jack Warner, and in this video series, I'm going to be covering how taxes work, how income taxes are calculated, what you can do to lower your taxable income, and we'll discuss other things like credit and deductions and property taxes and consumption tax. So this video, we're going to mostly focus on the grand scheme of taxes. Why do we even have taxes? How do they work? Where do they go? Etc. So the first thing I want to cover is why taxes. And some of you probably already know, like the government taxes us. But what do they do with it after? Why do they tax us? Well, the first thing is the government needs money. And that when I say government in this video, I'm meaning everything from local, state to federal levels of government. They need money to function and pay for public goods and services. They got to pay for schools. They got to pay for our defense. They got to pay for law enforcement. So they need money, and taxes are the best way to get money. It's actually one of the 95 plus percent. We'll cover that later, but 95 plus percent of their revenue comes from taxes. Taxes are the largest source of revenue, and other ways the government can get money is through fees, donations, customs, tariffs, which is another tax, so basically a tax, and some other sources. Government sell stuff too. They can sell like the national park sells parking pass or park passes. Game and wildlife state agencies, they'll sell hunting licenses and stuff like that. Income tax, corporate tax, and Social Security Medicare tax make up about 95% of the government's revenue. So whenever you look at your pay stub and you see all the different things that were taken out, the four biggest ones, corporate tax won't be on your personal income tax, but these other ones will. You'll see those going to the government, being taken out by state and federal government. Whereas if you own a corporation, you'll get hit with the corporate tax too. So what does the government do with these taxes? Now they have this money, what exactly do they do with it? And it's important to see. It's important to, and this is just the federal government, so you can get more transparency if you go to your local government or to your state government and see where they spend their money. But this is just I was easily able to find the data, and most of our taxes go to federal government functions. So when we see the breakdown of the programs that our government's spending, and this is just as of fiscal year 2022, this was the budget for 2022. We can look at the trillions and billions of dollars that goes to these programs. And we can also look at agencies. So I click on the agency tab. You can see the different agencies that are also spending the most money. So you have Health and Human Services, which just makes sense because Medicare, and Social Security, of course. And then you have your Treasury. A lot of that, and a big chunk of that is the IRS and Department of Defense military programs and so on and so forth. So obviously they need money. The government needs money to hire people. They need money to buy goods and services to help these people do their jobs. So how does this work? How does the government start to use or to take our taxes? I guess we could say it that way. To put it bluntly, how can they take our money? Taxes are created by law. So Congress, it has to be passed by Congress. It can't be something the president makes up. So a lot of people will blame Trump or blame Obama or blame Biden or whatever, Bush, about the tax rates, but it's written in the Constitution. Anything to do with taxes, money, for instance, has to start in the House of Representatives. It's got to be passed by Congress. So taxes are created by the Congress, the legislation. So it could be, I should mention, it can also be created in your state house, and then they're enforced by government agencies. So they're enforced by things like the IRS. Speaking of the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, they are the chief tax enforcement agency in the United States. They're the ones that can audit or investigate whether or not you paid enough in taxes. They're the ones that issue and confirm the tax return that you might receive. So they are the number one tax policy agency. Taxes are generally withheld. So we have a withheld program, especially if you're a W-2 employee. This means that throughout the year, until you get your tax return, the government's already withholding X amount of dollars from your paycheck. So you might get paid $3,000, but really get paid $2,500 because $500 is going to be taken out in taxes. And you get that money back whenever you do your tax returns. Doesn't seem like a good deal to me. If you're not a W-2 employee and you own a business, or you're a freelancer or a contractor or something like that, you have to pay back taxes during the tax season. So you'll owe taxes at the end of the year. And you can do this quarterly. There's different ways to do this. Of course, you need to talk to your accountant and make sure that they understand the tax situation. Everybody's different. And then we have consumption tax. So we have our withheld tax, our periodic tax, and our consumption tax. And consumption tax, all these are required by law. So all these different categories of taxes are created by federal, state, and local law. And they can, one state can be higher, one state can be lower, but everybody pays the same federal taxes. So consumption tax, or things called like sales tax, excise tax, property taxes, they are mandatory, but the good thing about those is you only have to pay them when you buy something. So you're not having to, the more you spend, the more taxes you pay, basically. That's consumption tax. Whereas no matter who you are, you have to pay income tax. No matter what you do, no matter what kind of money you spend, you have to pay income taxes.